We will be in your notes today. We are on G3 in the notes. Today's a thinking type of a day. Okay? So, going to be doing some thinking, going to be doing some writing. Okay? Yep, we got to do some writing. You didn't think that you'd come to math class today and all of a sudden English would break out, but it's one of those kind of a days. Okay? So, yeah, do this. Negative slope is good, right? Yeah, then you're going downhill. You got negative slope, you're going downhill. Otherwise, you're riding a skateboard uphill. Okay? So let's talk rate of change from last week. What did we call, or what is a way of saying, another way of saying rate of change from last week? How do we find the rate of change? How do we find the rate of change? If we don't know, we should look back in our notes. If we look back one page, maybe 2 pages, we would probably find many a definition of rates of change at the beginning of G1 or at the beginning of G2, or if we went all the way back to G0, we got a rate of change. What did we call a rate of change? How do we find the rate of change? The triangle means delta. What about delta y, delta x? Give me something in between delta y and delta x. I'll take one of 2 words. There's no negative. Delta y blank delta x.
Delta y
Not per. That's one I'm not going to take this one. We'll take it in the next one. Delta y blank delta x.
So, is there going to be a number in the middle?
Nope.
A blank or something?
You got to fill in the blank. Yes.
Per?
Not per.
Oh. Delta y,
Over. Would over work? Yeah. What's the other one that I was thinking of?
delta y blank,
It's a D word. The D word.
divide.
Divide. Yes. Okay. Delta y divided by delta x. Okay. Now, what does delta y mean? What about y then? What does delta y mean? What are we finding when we find the rate of change? Change in y. So delta y means the change in y, right? Okay. So another way of saying delta y over delta x, this time we're going to use per, would be bingo, the change in y per the change in x. Okay. Delta y over delta x, y divided by delta x, change in y per our change in x. Okay. So, now, in the next 4 statements, so what you see right below that now is 4, well, you see 3 one-sentence stories, and then you see 1 a little bit longer story. Okay? So in that first one sentence story, where is, or what is, I think would be a better saying, what is the rate of change in this number one story? Elizabeth gets $5 per hour to babysit, plus $4 extra for putting the children to bed. What is the rate of change in that story? $5 per hour is the rate of change. So you're just going to circle that one. Yeah? If, and this is a big if we were to graph this number one scenario, what would the label be on the vertical axis, and what would the label be on the horizontal axis? Hours and money, which one which? Hours on the X, so that's the bottom one. Okay, right? And then what would be on the top, or on the vertical one? Money, so money would go here, and hours would go there. Right? Like that? Okay? Because in a rate of change, the vertical is the first label, the horizontal is the second label. Vertical, then horizontal. Change Y, over change X. In number two, what is the rate of change in number two? Yeah. $10 per hour. Huh? When you're looking in these stories, what are you looking for? The word per, right? And then whatever the unit is in front of it and or number, and whatever unit is behind it. That gets us our rate of change. Even if there's a bunch of extra numbers, there's only one rate of change in this story. Okay? Number three, an electronics firm charges a $5 fee along with a charge of 25 cents per pound for shipping and handling. What is the rate of change? 25 cents per pound. Looking for per. Take the numbers in front and the number behind. Now with longer stories come more stuff, more information. Mrs. Hill's car used 12.34 gallons of gas to travel 321 miles to visit her friend in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, which is up northwest of Duluth. Gas costs $2.48 per gallon. On average, what is her car's fuel efficiency in miles per gallon? Too much. Okay. So what do you got down? That's the rate of change. Okay, because it's a per. Yep. Okay. All right. So that this could be one rate of change. Is there another choice that we could have? Because then that would get us miles per gallon, right? Okay. So we could do that one if we combined those two and divided those two, right? Is that what you're saying? Yep, exactly. We could have two possibilities here for this one, but on the second one, we have to do some figuring. We would have to do some maths first. Okay? We have to do some math on that one, but it also could be a rate of change. your Armin Linsmeyer, you care about miles per gallon. What's up? The miles that have traveled and the amount of gallons that you use. Yeah. She's got a really fuel efficient car. No? Only like, only like 25, isn't it? Now you have 400. 321 divided by 12.34. 321 divided by 12.34 gives me 26.01 gallons. Yeah, that's not bad. That's good. Okay? With me on that? Telling stories today. Okay? So, first scenario is going to come off of this graph. Okay? Now, we did a little bit of this on Friday when you guys were walking around the room and you were finding the different stories at each one. Okay? So, if I am looking here at just this one, okay, what are the units going to be for this ending rate of change? Dollars per hour. Okay. Now this morning they said earnings per hour. Which one do we like better? But dollars is the unit, right? Okay. The label is earnings, but dollars is the unit. So I would go here with dollars per hour. Okay. The more specific we can get, the better. Okay. Yeah. Then we need to actually find the rate of change. Right? Okay? So we need 2 points that line goes through. Give me one of them. It's the same graph as on your paper, so you don't have to strain your eyes to look and see. 250 and 20 is not on my graph because 250 would be like way over 20 comma 250. Yes.
Good. There's a lot of them that are pretty close, but not quite.
No, but not quite. Like, I don't know, like this morning they were saying this one right here, right in there. But what do you guys think about that one? I think it's off just a little bit, don't you? Yeah. Okay, so we can't use that one. So what? We can always use, it goes through the origin, it goes down here. So it goes through 0, comma 0. Okay, so we got 2 data points on there now. Okay. So what was my rate of change again? Dollars per hour, so I need to find the change in my Y's, which is the change in my dollars. Okay? So it's going up by how much? But what's my change in my dollars? Plus 250, right? Okay. Divided by, what's the change in my hours? To go from here to there. 20, right? Plus or minus? Plus 20. Okay? Now, thinking time. 250 over 20. Is that a reducible fraction? Yes? What can it be reduced by, Will? Nope, 20 doesn't go into 250. 10 does. What? There's 2 more that go into it also. 10 is one of them. 2 is one of them. And 5 is the other one. Yep. Okay? So we could. But now, tap the brakes before we do it. Okay? How many people, quick raise of the hand, how many people went to a store this past weekend? Okay? when you went to the store, Austin, I'm going to ask you, when you went to the store, did you buy something? Yes, okay. When you got to the cash register, did the person working at the cash register say, I need, or your total is $250 over $20? No. So you can make up a number here. It doesn't have to be the exact one that you picked, that you got. What would the cashier say to you? In some sense, right? So like $12.75, right? Okay? Right? So that's what they're going to say to you, right? Because we're dealing with money. So because we're dealing with money, we're not going to leave it in fraction form. Because when you guys go to the store, you're not going to be told in fraction form how much you owe. Unless it's a really cool store that loves fractions like I do. Okay? Alright? So, instead of reducing this fraction, what can we do? We can just straight out divide it, right? Okay? So now, Levi, now what is 250 divided by 20? 12.5, right? Okay? So do I want to leave this as 12.5? Because why would I want to go 12.50? Why would I want to do that? Because now it looks like money, right? In money, we round to 2 decimal places. Okay? Okay? Now, here comes the fun part. Okay? Now, we're going to explain that scenario in a complete sentence. So we're going to tell a story. $12.50 per hour is not a complete sentence. Okay? So now we've got to make up a story. There are 2 things that are important to our story. One of them is the actual rate of change. So in your sentence or sentences, you have got to have $12.50 per hour. Does anyone know what the second part of the story has to be? Anybody else know what the second part of the story has to be? Or the second fact that has to be in our story? Hey, what? No. No, we already got per. We got $12 per hour is already in there.
So here's the one thing we need.
Yep. So there's one
Oh, sorry.
with the 1252.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. What's the other thing that we need to have? Go ahead, Mr. H. Highlight it. We got to have something about where it's happening. Okay? So there's a title to this scenario. Okay? So let's come up with a story now. Anybody want to give it a shot? We need a complete sentence that has $12.50 per hour and working at County Fresh Meats.
Does anyone here work at County Fresh? That would have been a good story. No.
Anybody want to take a shot at the story? Here's how simple it could be. When I work at County Fresh Meats, I make $12.50 per hour. That's my story. Okay. Right? If you get a job at County Fresh Meats, you could make $12.50 per hour. That's another story. Okay. I hate my job at County Fresh Meats because I only make $12.50 per hour. Okay? I love my job at County Fresh Meats because they pay me $12.50 per hour. Again, these are all stories that you could tell. And they only have to be one sentence stories. Okay? Write it down. You didn't write no story.
This is story time.
Okay? Alright? So, I work at County Fresh, but I got that lowercase a, so it's making me, it's starting to get under my skin. County Fresh Meat and
I earned $12. So write down whatever you want there.
$12.50. Now, I think we're going to say the same thing.
I don't know, we'll find out.
I could put dollars here as the word, right? Or what could I also do? Put the dollar sign. Where would I put the dollar sign? In front of the money. Yep. Per hour.
You okay with the slash? You want per?
In this, because it's a sentence, it's got to be the word per. Okay.
Have any of you ever had like little snack sticks? They
No,
have
the
that,
ones
like,
from
gas-
County Fresh Meat.
they have like gas stations all over.
Yeah.
You can buy them there.
You ever had them? Sometimes they come with cheese too.
Combo pack.
Combo packs, yep.
Fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Not as good as Smith Brothers, but it's good. Smith Brothers is more of a Abbotsford, Colby area type one.
UCLA.
What?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Number 6.
Here we go, Jim. Okay. You, now, I'm going to turn this one, number 6 is going to be a U one. Okay? So number 6 is going to be tell me the units, find me the rate of change, and tell me a story. Okay? Go. What are my units? So this is words now.
Inches.
Inches,
Inches water per hour.
inches
Per hour.
per hour. Okay, I would accept inches per hour. I would not just accept inches because that's not a rate. That's just a number. Okay? Inches per hour. Okay? What did we find as our rate of change? So what's our change in Y?
What's going on with the water here?
They're the same. So what's our change in Y? 0. You see, so you gotta watch out for that one. Come here, there you go. So it's plus 0 all the way through, no matter which one you chose, right? Okay? So then that's going to be, and then this side was going to be plus 2. So if I choose those two, I would have plus 0 divided by plus 2. 0 divided by anything is 0. So this gives me a rate of change here of 0 inches per hour. Okay? So your story needs to have the depth of my water tank in it, or my fish tank. The depth of the water in the fish tank changes at a rate of 0 inches per hour. And something like that. You got to have depth of the water and 0 inches per hour in your story. After the great flood of Crealge, the depth of the fish tank. Oops, I forgot the 10. Fish tank changes at 0 inches per hour. The story.
That is,
Yep.
that's like a novel.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One more. Back up at the top of that page. Okay. There were 4 scenarios that we started with. I want you to come up with a scenario for them. I'm teasing. They're already there for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just copy them.
Exactly. You just have to copy down the answers, but I'm not.
Not that easy.
Okay? Alright? Alright, let's do this.